The true ideal of man is self-education. That is a quote from Oscar Wilde. Another quote of the same attitude would be, curiosity is the highest form of intelligence, which is misattributed to Arthur Schopenhauer. We can see that the most intelligent minds in history did not just have extreme intelligence and curiosity in one area or field, but diversified interests and knowledge in many topics. For example, Aristotle did not just have extreme intelligence in philosophy, but also became the father of taxonomy, biology, rhetoric, and formalized logic. Another example of extreme intelligence that cannot just be contained to one field would be of René Descartes, who not only made massive strides in the areas of philosophical metaphysics and epistemology by his creation of body-mind dualism, but also in mathematics with his creation of the Cartesian plane. Both of these examples show how intelligence and curiosity are not just subjugated to one field. Just because curiosity is not something that you can really leave satisfied. It always leaves you wanting more, and that is essential to what it is, curiosity, wanting to know more. So that is one of its many strengths, that it cannot be satisfied. Now, how can we use these foundation as a jumping off point to apply this to our own everyday life? Mine and many others' solution would be the system of autodidactism or self-education, which allows one person to become extremely educated in topics without having to go through formal schooling. Now, I'll use a personal example of how I self-educate myself in topics.
Now, for my personal example, currently I'm trying to get into international relations, at a much deeper level. So I want to get past cursory knowledge and into deeper knowledge. How do you do that? So if you want to become an expert in a field, first you want to look at what the experts are reading and try to compare yourself to what level you think you're at and try to read at the same level as these experts. Now, a good way to find what experts are reading is going on, let's say you want to get into international relations like I am. You can go to a university, you can look at the university's curriculum, and you can see what books they have, and then let's say they have a textbook. That textbooks will be used for a whole semester at that university, and you could just read it yourself and educate yourself without having to spend about $5,000 for a semester in university. You can just read the textbook yourself. Now, I don't believe you should just read textbooks. I believe that you should try to complement yourself with both expert level, but also more popular examples. So right now I'm trying to get into international relations, like I said earlier. So these are the books that I'm trying to get into. Firstly, you want to understand theory. So for any topic, there's always theory for it. For history, there's theory. For political science, there's theory. For any topic, there's a theory. So you want to get into theory, and also you want to just get a broad overview of it before you get very precise. So I feel like these very short introduction books by Oxford is very good because they do give a short introduction, obviously, as the name says. They also go over a broad area of study. So right now I'm reading International Relations by Oxford, a very short introduction by Oxford University Press. Now after that, if you want to get more depth into the theory, right now I am reading The 20 Years Crisis by E.H. Kerr. Now this is a fundamental text in international relations on the theory of realism. Now I believe that realism is the most commonly used. There's realism, there's liberalism, there's Marxism, and there's utopianism. Now I believe that realism, if you just look at world, is the most applicable. So I believe it is the best to read on. So that's why I got this. And now that you have the theory, you can actually look at it in practicality, in practice, how it's affected. So you want to look at both modern examples of how the theory is in practice and historical examples. So I have a textbook on international relations about history of the 20th century up until now, the international order since 1945, a world of nations. Now this book will give me a cursory overview of the history of how international relations has played a role in history, so I can look at examples of how these theories have played out. Now, a more modern example would be a foreign affairs magazine. These have about 10 essays each, and they'll educate me on how international relations is playing out in contemporary societies. This can be used with anything. For history, I can do the exact same. For philosophy, I'm doing the same. There's almost any field of study, you can do the same. You can see both its theory and its applicability. Now you don't want just to read all these books. You also want to see other people's opinions on these books. So it's good to read reviews on these books from other people's, maybe essays people have written on these books. But also a good supplement, which isn't the best, would be to go to, let's say, a Harvard or a Yale They have most of their lectures for free on YouTube. So you can look at the lectures from these leading intellectuals in these areas, and you can understand what they are saying to the university students, and you can get it for free on YouTube. So I feel like YouTube is a very good place to get supplementary knowledge in these topics. But I don't believe it's not the best to get knowledge in these topics. It's just a good supplement. And now the best thing about this, most fields that you'll study in are related. So the more I know about international relations, I can easily use my knowledge of history to help like stack it. So it would be easier to go from one field to another without that much difficulties. Or political science. If I want to get more in depth into political science, I already have a good basis that I can form my knowledge off of. I can go more in depth. They can be used for any field of study. This is why I believe that self-education, everyone should try to do it. Everyone should try to educate themselves on the world that they live in. And curiosity, I do believe, is one of the highest, indicators of intelligence. Because how are you going to live a life without wanting to know more about the world that you live in? So thank you for watching my YouTube video. Like, subscribe, and watch all my other videos. Goodbye.